As the first rays of morning peek through the curtains, I stand at the window with my hands clutching my tummy. My breathing is steady, deep, and slow, as though it were in time with the quiet hum of the outside world. The chill of the upcoming winter is already present in November. Our front yard is now littered with leaves that previously danced in brilliant colors, indicating the changing of the seasons and perhaps the change in my life as well. This pregnancy, it seems miraculous. Fertility treatments for 7 long years, innumerable futile attempts, and times of loss that were more painful than physical ones. There were moments when I believed I was broken and that it would never happen. But now that I have a baby developing inside of me, I at last feel that all of those hardships were worthwhile. My slumber is interrupted by Lily's voice. Mom, look at my science project. My heart swells as I smile. Lily, my gorgeous, smart 8-year-old. Her eyes have the same sparkle in them that mine did when I was her age. The insatiable curiosity and enthusiasm for learning. I notice her assembled model of the solar system, with each planet in its proper location and each one a small work of art. As I descend the stairs to join her, I run my fingers through her beautiful brown curls and tell her it's wonderful. Lily, you've really paid attention to every detail. She looks up at me with her big, eager eyes and beams. Are you going to show it to Dad? Will he be home late? A burden weighs heavily on my chest at the mention of Michael, my hubby. Michael. I've spent a significant portion of my life with this man. Recently, he has become more aloof, constantly traveling for work and always too busy when I need him. I gulp down the anxiety that is rising in my throat in an attempt to sound informal. I say, he's just got an important meeting. He'll be home soon. But uncertainty persists even as I say it. He has been putting in more hours at work, spending less time with me, and when he does return home, his eyes are tired for reasons other than work. Something else is involved. I sense something that I can't quite identify. I checked the time when I'm making dinner for Lily later that night. My due date is just 1 week away. Our baby's small clothes are folded and the hospital bag is prepared. Thomas, after Michael's father, is the name we have previously decided on. Holding our little boy in my arms makes me picture what it will be like. My thoughts are interrupted by the sound of the front door opening. As Lily rushes to greet someone, I hear her joyful voice. Michael must have come back early. Dad! Look at my solar system, I hear him chuckle wearily. Then he squats down to look at Lily's artwork. Michael says, That's amazing. Lily, in a lighter, friendlier voice, you really have talent. My husband greets me as I enter the living room. He is standing there with his shirt crumpled and his tie loose, but a tiny smile pulling at his lips. I haven't seen that smile too often lately. I'm both relieved and, for some reason, apprehensive about it. Michael puts his hands on my stomach and says, How are you feeling? His touch is soft, but there's something about the way he asks that doesn't sit right. My voice is calm as I say, I'm fine, despite a slight ache in my back. Just a little sore. The doctor says it's normal. That evening, Michael and I watch TV together on the couch after Lily has gone to bed. His face is buried in my hair as he draws me in. He whispers, Deborah, in a lower than normal voice. I'm truly happy I met you. The words settle between us like an unexpected weight. He takes a small step back and examines my face. I've been thinking, after the baby comes, we should make some changes. Maybe spend more time together. You dot me and the kids. I stare at him, perplexed by how heartfelt his remarks are. Talking about future goals is not his style, especially since his work keeps dragging him away. Even when a tiny voice inside of me questions whether it's all just words and promises made on the spur of the moment on a calm evening, I still nod. The night goes by uneventfully, but I can't shake the nagging feeling that there's something about Michael that feels just away. Unexpectedly, labor begins the following day, 1 week ahead of schedule, sharp and relentless. The pain comes in waves. I wave Michael off, telling him I'll be all right. Even though he has to go on a business trip in the morning, after giving me a worried look, he pauses and then nods. His voice is tense as he adds, Okay, I'll go. Call Carol. Okay, I don't want him to go, not with the baby coming, but there's no time for disputes. Carol arrives shortly after the contractions get closer together. We drive to the hospital as I hold her hand, but it feels hurried, hectic. Too quickly, things take an odd turn when we get there. Carol is already calling Michael to give him an update, and the agony is coming more quickly than I anticipated. I give birth to Thomas, a healthy baby boy, after several hours of labor. Even in that triumphant moment, though, I experience a peculiar uneasiness. Michael's actions, his detachment, his haste, it doesn't sit well for certain reasons. He has a bouquet of flowers in his hand and is still dressed for work when he gets at the hospital. He gives me and Thomas a smile, but it doesn't extend to his eyes. He says, "I'm so proud of you," in a tense voice. He looks toward the hallway as like he's waiting for someone or anything, but then something strange occurs. I attribute the swift passage of time to fatigue. However, my intuition is telling me otherwise. There's a problem. My thoughts is racing as I fall asleep that night. Was it the tension, the drug, or had it been something else? I woke up with a dull, persistent ache in my body and light pouring through the hospital window. In the bassinet next to me, Thomas was sleeping soundly, his little chest rising and falling with calm, gentle breaths. This ideal little existence, the fresh start I had prayed for, should have been all I could think about, but instead, my thoughts kept going back to something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Earlier, Michael was here, he grinned, held Thomas, and murmured the appropriate things. However, there was still something strange about him, like he was waiting for a signal I wasn't supposed to notice. His eyes kept darting to the corridor. Even though his phone was beeping, he never looked at it in front of me. He simply gazed at it as though the object itself posed a danger. The nurse then arrived. Her name tag said Rachel. She entered with that overpowering artificial brightness that some people wear like perfume. She said, "Good morning, Miss S. Wilson," in a cheerful tone. "How's the pain today?" I said, "Manageable, still drowsy, and still getting used to it." After taking my vitals and noting something on her chart, Rachel gave me a tiny white pill, painkiller, prescribed by your physician. "Please take it with water. I didn't ask her any questions I ought to have." However, I didn't. The world was slowly fading into darkness as I slipped down, my limbs feeling as heavy as damp towels. It was past noon when I awoke. Thomas was being held by another nurse in the room. Softly, "You were out," she said. The baby was crying, so I held him. I gazed at the timepiece. 4 hours. For 4 hours, I had been unconscious. That shouldn't have happened with a single medication. Not with my pain threshold, not after childbirth. I whispered. That painkiller felt too strong. The new nurse gave a nod. "Rachel made a note about that. We'll adjust the dosage." However, there was a problem. The way Rachel hovered around Michael earlier, the way she had smiled. Now my gut was screaming, the same gut that had warned me Lily had a fever before the thermometer did. I remained silent, though. Not quite yet. The nausea struck that afternoon. Heart palpitations come next. I pressed the button for the nurse call. Rachel came back, whispering, "I feel sick. I was having trouble breathing. My heart's racing, with cool fingers on warm skin." Rachel placed a hand on my forehead. "Probably just a mild fever. It's common after childbirth," she explained. "I'll adjust the IV and note it." After quickly changing the IV bag, she looked at her phone, typed a message, and left. It was so casual that I couldn't quit thinking about it. How quickly she had gone, as if she had a plan and wasn't just responding. Carol and Lily showed up later. My daughter, a courageous and intelligent young lady, sprinted directly to the bassinet. Her face was shining as she said, "Mom, he's so tiny!" I brushed her hair back and whispered, "Yes, baby, but he'll grow, just like you did." With all due respect, Carol gave me that tough mother-of-three look. "You look pale. Are you okay?" I paused. I then told her about the medication, the nausea, and the cloudy head. Carol instantly scowled. "That's not right. You need to talk to your doctor." And that nurse. At that moment, Rachel came into the room. Her voice shifted. "Oh, you must be Lily. I've heard so much about you." I went cold. I had never told her about Lily, not once. Lily's tiny hand tightened its hold on mine. "Mom, I don't know this nurse," she said, leaning closer. The tension seemed to go unnoticed by Rachel. She offered me another pill and chirped, "It's medication time." In front of Lily, I didn't want to cause a scene. Not with Carol looking on. Despite not swallowing the tablet, I took it. I waited while tucking it under my mouth. I spit it into a tissue and shoved it deep in the drawer when she left. "Don't you find it odd that she knew Lily's name?" I murmured softly. "Yes," Carol replied, her expression now solemn. "It's not normal." My heart stopped when Lily said anything. "I've seen her before. Mom? I looked over at her. What do you mean, sweetie? 2 weeks ago, Dad picked me up from school early, said we'd go for ice cream. We sat outside a coffee shop, and he was talking to that woman, Rachel. He said it was a work thing, but she was holding his hand. My face was emptied of blood. Michael informed me that he had been working through the night. My entire world swayed. Michael came over for a quick visit that night. Thomas was held, gave me a forehead kiss, declared his love for me. The quiet murmur of voices outside the room, however, was what I heard next. His and her voices were familiar to me. As I picked up my phone, my fingers shook. I made no phone calls. I simply gazed at it. That night, sleep wasn't easy. The medication kept coming to mind. Rachel. The fourth, and the voice of Lily in my mind, she was speaking to Dad, and her face was frightening. Another nurse arrived the following morning, stated that in the afternoon, Rachel would be on duty. For an instant, my breathing became easier, only long enough to give my doctor a call and ask for a new blood test. For safety's sake, Michael hesitated when I called him to ask if he could bring Lily today. I've got a big meeting, he added. Correct. A major meeting. I remained silent. Later. Rachel gave me a fresh tablet when she returned with her usual smile. She declared, "This is an antibiotic. The doctor's orders, keeps infections at bay." I gave her a direct look. When did he prescribe that? She blinked. Only once. It's in your chart. I refused to accept it. Not right away. After nodding and waiting for her to go, I put it in the drawer along with the other one. The drawer was starting to seem like a tomb for secrets. Carol and Lily returned that afternoon. Lily hurried up to me, bearing a tiny bouquet she'd chosen from the garden. I tried to maintain my composure as I smiled. Carol went outside to fetch refreshments while softly rocking Thomas. Before she spoke, Lily waited for the door to click shut. "Mom," she whispered, her voice low. That nurse. She was talking to Dad again, just now. When we got here, they didn't see us. My heart was racing. What did she say? With her voice hardly audible, Lily leaned closer. "She said, 'We'll do it today.'" And Dad said, "Not yet." My mouth became parched. Lily's icy hands were clasped around mine. With terrified eyes, she said, "Mom, is she going to hurt you?" We heard footsteps outside before I had a chance to respond. Turning, Lily faced the window. Her little face transformed. Then she said in a whisper, "Close the curtains. Mom." I didn't ask her any questions. I simply relocated. Lily was at my side. Her voice firm now. As I reached for the drapes, "Get under the bed, Mom, now." There was just time to move, not time to consider. Lily's voice had changed. It was now crisper, older, and bolder rather than the gentle, inquisitive tone of a youngster. I refrained from arguing. I didn't ask. I had faith in her. My stomach ached as I lowered myself from the hospital bed and held Thomas close to me. Beside me, the fourth pole creaked, but I kept it close by gently dragging it. Stitches, bruised muscles, the rawness of childbirth. My body screamed from the strain, but adrenaline muffled much of it. I was being led by Lily, who was already on the floor. The blanket skirt was lifted around the bed by her firm little hands. I went underneath, huddled, and held the infant close to my chest. It was chilly on the floor. Dust clung to the tile's edge, and I could smell metal, latex, and antiseptic. It didn't matter, though. The sound of Lily's quick, shallow breath next to me was what counted. The sensation of Thomas's skin on mine was what counted. Without thinking, she climbed in next to me. Her gaze flitted to the door as the hem of her dress pulled behind her. "She's on her way," Lily muttered. Then everything froze. There was a gentle click as the door opened. Not slammed, not in a hurry, just opened. Steps. Gentle, be cautious. Tile with padded soles. They stopped close to the bed and moved carefully, almost inquisitively, to stop Thomas from sobbing. I held him tighter and rocked him softly. Only once did he moan, but it was enough to make my pulse race like a bullet. The voice then emerged, low. "I'm annoyed. Where has she disappeared to? Rachel?" Her shoes were visible to me, those same immaculate white nursing shoes straight out of a catalog. She shuffled the covers as she went around the bed. Beside me, Lily reached out and gently placed her palm over my mouth. She didn't have to speak. I understood. Keep quiet. So I did. Above us, Rachel pressed the nurse call button. I heard her remark, "The patient is missing," into the corridor. Then, More footsteps, heavier ones you know. Michael. His voice was tight as he said, "What are you doing? Where's Deborah?" Silence. Then Rachel's voice low, menacing. "Your obstacle will soon be gone. Just one injection." Michael, that's all it takes. My lungs lost their ability to function. Michael faltered in his voice. "What are you talking about? We planned this," Rachel exclaimed, panting heavily. "You and me and the baby. We don't need your wife. She was always the weight holding you back." Her voice had changed in some way. It was faith now, not merely illusion. There was a fervent devotion that scared me more than any danger. Thomas writhed in my arms. I gave him a forehead kiss. Nothing was spoken into his ear. "Please, please, keep quiet, Rachel," said Michael. "I never look. I said I wanted to break up. That things with Deborah weren't easy before the baby, but I never said I wanted this. I didn't sign up for any of this. You said that we could be happy," she growled. "You said once she was gone." "No," he interrupted. "I just said I didn't want to lie anymore. I had no idea you were like this. From where I was hiding, I could see very little." Now, just the soles of Michael's leather shoes and Rachel's are moving. Every stride was tense. Then Lily pointed at the button that was clipped to my gown for the emergency nurse call, her little finger trembling a little. It sat slightly above my wrist and appeared to be a large watch. I looked her in the eyes. She gave one nod. I hit it. Only once. A prayer in silence, Rachel was saying. "You told me we'd be together," as her voice rose. "You said you didn't want the baby, that you were only staying for appearances." Michael's tone had become strained, almost begging. That was fear talking. Before I met Thomas, I didn't know what I'd feel. Everything changed when I saw him. Don't lie to me, a fight. Moving feet. Something landed heavily on the floor. Then Michael's voice returned. This time in pain. "Rachel, stop!" Lily gripped my arm beside me. I glanced in her direction. Just a little. Her eyes were flaming, but her lips were quivering and her cheeks were pale. With fire instead of fear, she had never looked like that to me before. She was suppressing it. For me. For Thomas. She refused to let the world break because she was keeping it in her small chest. Rachel spoke again from above. "Now, relax, Chili. If you're not with me, you're against me. That makes you the problem." Then, voices, more of them, beyond the room, threw open the door. "Is everything in here okay?" It was a different nurse. Her tone was abrasive and worried, quiet, then bewilderment. "Rachel, what are you doing?" Rachel's voice broke. "Stay out of this. Safety. Come on in. Steps. Many. The voice of a man. She's carrying a syringe." More yelling. Anarchy. Then, "Quiet," someone said. Now it's safe. I remained motionless. Couldn't. With my daughter by my side and myself curled up beneath the covers, our breaths entangled like strands in a tempest. "Mom, I think it's okay now," Lily whimpered. I gave a nod. I crawled out slowly and carefully. My body shouted. My sutures came loose. However, I got up. I rose holding Thomas, grabbing Lily's hand, and faced the room. Nurses were present. 2 security personnel. Michael's shirt was ripped and he was bleeding from his lip. Rachel, who was confined, had wild eyes and screamed as if something primordial had been released within her. "You ruined everything!" she shouted when she saw me. "We were meant to be happy!" She thrashed and was pulled back by security. A syringe fell to the ground with a clatter. My legs trembled, Lily whispered. Mom hid with me, while continuing to hold onto my hand. Under the bed, I didn't want that woman to find us. I was unable to talk. I simply squeezed her closer. The hall reverberated with Rachel's cries. It was done. However, I could tell by the trembling in my chest that this was not the end. It was only the start. Rachel was taken away, and shortly after, the hospital administrator entered. She had dealt with upheaval before, as you could see by her appearance, but this may have been the first time it had affected her so personally. She appeared to be suppressing a wave of regret as she stood there with her hands clasped together in front of her and her lips squeezed into a line. She started, "Mrs. Wilson, I'm so sorry. A thorough internal review is being carried out. Rachel Collins." The nurse in question made false statements about her work history. We were unable to find out with one hand on my shoulder. Carol, who had hurried back into the room as soon as the sirens went off, stood next to me like a human wall. Lily was clinging to my side as I continued to sit on the bed and rock Thomas softly. She tried to kill me, I murmured, and my own voice astonished me. It was level, empty, nor fear, nor rage. Just the facts, simple and icy. The administrator took a deep breath. Indeed, additionally, the syringe we found in her possession had a deadly amount of morphine. If it weren't for your daughter's prompt thinking and the emergency response. She hesitated. This time, I couldn't help but cry when my eyes met Lily's. Lily had saved my life. All three of us had been spared. I was later transferred to a new room that was private, quiet, and safe. After 2 officers arrived to take my statement, a hospital psychologist was dispatched to assess Lily and me, although they said it was routine. I could tell they were also attempting to keep us from disintegrating. The reality, I wasn't disintegrating, not quite yet. However, I could sense my edges being frayed. I couldn't stop seeing that scene beneath the bed, Rachel's shoes inches away, Lily's hand covering my mouth, and Thomas's breath against my breast. Flashes, like a broken reel of film came. Michael did not immediately attempt to follow me. He stood for a while outside the room, through the small rectangle of glass in the door. I could see him pacing, focusing on his hands. He raised his head once, and our gazes locked. He appeared to be ruined. However, I was unable to feel sorry for him. I finally persuaded Carol to open the door for him. He entered as if he were entering a funeral. "Deborah," he said, "allow me to speak." I gave a nod. Lily was out in the corridor, watching cartoons on a nurse's phone. In the bassinet, Thomas slept. My heart was a chaos of quiet storms, yet I needed to hear it. Everything. Michael started by saying, "I met Rachel 3 months ago. It was intended to be short-term. It was foolish. I believed it would pass. I remained silent. Simply listen. I tried to end it before Thomas was born. Yes, I did. Deborah. But she wasn't normal. She began to appear at various locations, making calls from blocked numbers, notes left on my windshield." His voice cracked as he hesitated. "I never imagined she would act in this manner. I promise you, I had no idea she would harm you, or Lily, or the infant. But you allowed her access." I finally said, "The door was opened by you." He cast his gaze downward. "Yes, I did." There was a cloud of silence between us. I felt like screaming. I wanted to know how many nights I was alone while he sat with her in a hotel room or cafe, saying things he never told me, and how long he had been lying to me. Above everything, though, I wanted him gone. "Please, for Lily's sake, for Thomas," he implored, "let me attempt to resolve this." I felt nothing but emptiness when I looked at him. Actually looked at him. I muttered, "I need time. I have to keep my kids safe right now. That's all." He gave a nod, didn't dispute, simply turned and walked away. 3 months later, I saw Lily chasing butterflies across the garden while sitting on the veranda of a modest rental home just outside of town. Not much. 2 bedrooms, a creaking fence, fading paint near the gutters. However, it was secure. It belonged to us. With his little hands balled into fists, Thomas slept warm and cozy in my arms. Lily ran barefoot through the grass, her locks bouncing as she smiled in the sunlight. Carol stepped outside with 2 mugs of tea. Her words were chamomile. "You seem in need of it." She sat next to me and gave me the cup. She remarked, "You've accomplished a lot in 3 months. More than the majority could have. I had no other option," I answered. "Or did it survive? Or vanish?" She concluded for me. Rachel Collins was diagnosed with delusional psychosis and borderline personality disorder. At this point, she was confined to a state mental hospital. Police claim that she had made up stories about the affair in her head and fantasized about Michael, me, and an imaginary future. She used fictitious credentials to apply to several hospitals. My experience wasn't the first time. For the first time, someone had made it out alive. Last month, the divorce was finalized. Michael made the West Coast his new home. He makes child support payments, calls Lily once a month, never requested a face-to-face meeting with Thomas. I didn't resist. Carol assisted me in obtaining a 3-day-a-week part-time job at the neighborhood library. Enough to keep the lights on, enough to give me a purpose and Lily framework. I'm here with them the rest of the time. Twice a week, Lily visits a child counselor. She's getting better. She still gets nightmares occasionally and holds on to Thomas too closely when she's afraid. However, she is recovering, like the ground after a storm, slowly. From the yard, she cried out, "Mom, look," and pointed to the sky. "A butterfly!" I grinned, and it made it to my eyeballs this time. The yard was bathed in a gentle golden glow as the sun descended low in the sky. With her hands behind her head, Lily lay on the grass and watched the sky turn from blue to purple. Thomas slept peacefully in my arms, bundled up in his little blanket. Even though it was cold outside, the warmth of the moment made everything feel perfectly balanced. Mom, sitting up to face me, Lily said, "Do you suppose we'll ever return to the old house?" I anticipated the inquiry. We had already relocated numerous times in an attempt to get away from the burden of our past. But honestly, there was no turning back. No, I answered softly, that house was no longer our home. After nodding, she gave a small smile. This one appeals to me. It feels like secure. It was secure. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I took a deep breath as a gentle wind brushed the hair away from my face. My lungs were flooded with the aroma of fresh grass, flowers, and earth. It smelled like something fresh, something positive. I thought about Rachel, about the months of worry and suffering she had inflicted, the lies she spun around us like a web. She had been a wounded creature, a woman who, although losing herself in her own thoughts and delusions, had ultimately only managed to destroy herself. I didn't care about the lengthy police investigation or the hospital's discreet settlement of the false allegation against me. My family was now the most important thing. Even though justice had been served in its own manner, what mattered was the life I had to rebuild, the life that was worth fighting for. Michael, he had attempted to clarify, made an effort to apologize. However, he had ultimately simply demonstrated that his lies were as shattered as he was. I might never forgive him, but I couldn't forgive him yet. And that was all right. I didn't have to, nor for Thomas, nor for Lily, and not for me. I reflected on him and how he will never witness Thomas's development, how he would never hold him, walk him, or see him mature into a man. And something else took the place of the resentment that had been bubbling within of me. Relief. He was not necessary for me to complete my family. I didn't. I had my strength, my children, my lovely children. Carol became the kind of friend I never thought I could have. I was prepared to face the future, and I got stronger every day. Months ago, the divorce was finalized. I was in complete custody. Michael didn't dispute it. I didn't think he would. He was still attempting to piece together the life he'd ruined. I was unable to protect him from that. He had to confront it alone. Lily stood up and approached me, placing a warm touch on my arm. "Mom, will you tell me another story?" As I repositioned Thomas in my arms, I grinned. "Sure. What story do you want?" The one that transformed into a fairy, she uttered in a delicate, awe-inspiring voice. The one where we changed into fairies. I thought, the one where everything dark and heavy eventually lifted. And we were free to soar, I think. I said, rocking Thomas to sleep in my arms, that every butterfly begins as something else. They are beautiful because of the change. And no matter how difficult things get, you can always start over and become even better. Lying back in the grass with her fingers tracing the air. Lily grinned and said, "I like that." My heart was light as I whispered, "I like it too." The wind kicked up again, swirling about us, and for a minute, I felt the weight of everything, the betrayal, the sorrow, the countless questions slip away. All that was left was this. I found calm here with my kids in this little quiet area, and I found the strength to start over, not because it was simple, but because I could. It was a small thing, but it was everything. The healing process had started, not only for me, but for all of us. I smiled to myself as I heard Carol's voice calling in the distance. We had freedom, and it was sufficient. It's easy to get caught up in the pain and believe that we won't make it through. But the truth is that survival isn't just about getting through. It's about rising from the ashes of the life we once knew and creating something even stronger. Sometimes, life forces us to face the harshest truths: betrayal, heartbreak, and loss. However, it's in those moments when everything we thought we knew about love, trust, and security shatters that we discover our true strength. The journey may be long and the scars may remain, but it is in those scars that we find our resilience. Throughout it all, we must remember that the love we give ourselves and the family we create with our own hands are the things that last. We don't have to depend on other people to define our value or happiness. Sometimes we have to learn to let go, embrace the broken pieces, and choose to heal. We can start over, redefine who we are, and find peace in the life we create at any age, because no matter what life throws at us, we have the ability to get back up, rebuild, and become the person we were always meant to be. Healing isn't linear, and it's not about forgetting, it's about evolving, transforming our pain into power, and creating a life that reflects our true strength.